run off, and you go chase him down, and you calling him a bad guy. If you watch all the movies and TV programs, that's what the police, the bad guys, especially at that time. This is in the 90s. That's when it's being used. And you could tell by people's behavior that they're card-carrying police. Same thing you could tell about people over, right next door. You could tell how, look at here. You could just tell. And you could tell all the tests they run. One time I used to live downstairs under one of our fellow officers. So there was an argument going on upstairs. And when they swung the door wide open, supposed to have an argument. And that was this guy's wife with leotards on, kind of tight and everything. And to me, I knew who they was all the time, but they were showing me. I looked, I said, I'll be damned. I didn't know that child was that hooked. I mean, like, if you want to say a perfect shape. So they thinking this nigga like high yellow girls, and this girl is yellow, and look like small, but that girl look like they come out of, one of them fashion books, the shape. Because I never paid no attention because, we got on full dresses and stuff. So that's what they called me from downstairs, upstairs for, and whopped the door wide open so I could see with leotards, brown leotards on, and the shape and everything. The things that showed the exact shape, not subjective shape or some shape that you could imagine. No. You see the exact shape. And I knew what they was doing all the time, and I knew their whole crew. I knew everybody was all hooked, and I knew what everybody did. I already knew that. But that's a stage where we're going to use the system and the people in the system to carry us where we want to go. And you got to imagine now what we're doing at that time. We are on the platform with everybody. We're in the mix with everybody. All these stooges are calling here, meeting here, whether it's Answer, whoever it is, right? We're on the show with everybody. Everybody. The care is there, everybody's on. We're in the mix, okay? And we're on stage. We're managing the stage. We're doing the whole thing, and we got full crews. UCLA, maximum full. UCLA Shia section, what we call headquarters, packed full. Around the country, packed full. People would come here and say, yeah, I'm at the University of St. Louis, I'm getting ready to go to California, I want to start a As-Sabiqun, which is sure, going out there and start one. They go to San Diego, start, that adds up to the 8 or 9 things that we got going. And it functions, They're having a Juma, everybody's coming, right? They're making CDs, they're sending us information, they're doing all that. Okay, but if you were to go back to, was that 2005 and all that, I was making discussions, and I was saying that out there, what did I call out there? Clearinghouse. Clearinghouse, that's sure. And that's what I said, that's what Oakland is clearinghouse, okay. After a little while of that, doing that, hitting at that, pretty soon, we're just hitting at it, and they have to go. They said, I can't stand this no more, I'm gone. And then when they go, everybody else is in that clique, which is everybody. just imagine now you got a masjid full of people, and in a little while, everybody's gone. Only ones left behind is people that might be, that they don't want it to look too overbearing, And they're left there, and you know who they are too. And if you didn't, you were going to try them and test them. So eventually, there's, anyway. So that was that period. And to know where you are and to know what stage, have a reasonable understanding of what stage you're in, that's helpful for the movement. That's why you may not go around, please, why everybody leave? Oh, y'all want to go? Go ahead, And you go back and have a good to get rid of them boys, taking up all that space and doing all that chit-chat, talking and playing. Okay. Strategic mix, multi-directional management. Multi-directional management is not going in a single direction. Now, this is a level when you get into to trust, because rida, being pleased with Allah, give you, and tafweed means that you put yourself in Allah's hands. Well, of course, you always do that. But this is more conscious. And people, if they couldn't keep up with you or with the group or what have you, during the backstage, 2 stages back, or a stage and a half, they're definitely not going to be able to keep up with it now. Why? This is what we call a strategic mix, multi-directional management. Multi-directional management is simple. It means going in more than one direction at the same time, which is physically impossible. But it means that you have multi-directional goals. They think this is your goal. We got one goal, we're going up there. Okay, we'll just line up everything, right? And try to stop them from getting there. Okay, when you put your faith and trust in Allah, Allah is going to help you by whatever means that Allah is going to build your help and your aid and your assistance based on who you are, what you are, where you're trying to go, how much of a functional believer, you know what I mean, who you are, what you are, and where you're trying to go. And Allah got charge of them dummies, those people. Right? And I've seen people play basketball. One of my friends, he was really good, and he could, and they do stuff like that, and then like that. I can't do it, but he could. And in my day, if you could do a hoop and a straight shot, you was really doing something, And Bill Russell them and that stuff in those days. But not, who's that man? They took me somewhere over 20 years ago. Oh, yeah. They used to have, the Muslims would have, it was a Muslim party, really. They'd have pizzas and food. They'd be over one of the brothers' houses. They would invite me. Those are all old Negroes. And once I had been this movement doing that, I had never saw Michael Jordan, what he do. Now, this is 25 years ago that I saw this stuff. And I said, wait a minute. Because they would have the pizzas and you'd watch that stuff. And at this time, I'm almost one of the only one watching this. Everybody else has seen it 100 times. And he'd turn around and he would jump off the ground and he would look like he was walking in the air. I had never, the old time basket with Chamberlain them, the sky hook, all that stuff. But this guy was totally new. I mean, maybe other people do bigger, more magnificent stuff now, but you go back 25 years ago, and I've been busy At that time, let's say for 20 years, I haven't really been seeing no basketball. I've been in movement and I haven't seen no, I was looking at that. I said, what in the world? Whew. Shot. I said, my goodness. I said, I know that's made up. Can't do that stuff. And he was doing it. You remember that stuff, that old stuff he was doing? I said, my goodness. And he was actually doing that. Okay, now think about movement. Think about movement for a minute. Okay. So I might think if that stuff work on the court, maybe the stuff will work in the movement. Because everybody there was the police. That's the way I was figuring it then. This is in the 80s and 90s, 89, yeah, 90. This is about 90. And I was sure, I was absolutely sure that most of the people was the police. Nothing I could do about it. So what do? You have to, how are you going to develop movement? You know what I mean? So by 95, we figured out the structure, how we're going to do it, and off we are. Off we go. I mean. So it's a strategic mix, not one strategy like now. Multi-directional management. Y'all see that right there? E. Multi-directional management. That means we're asking a lot, because for us to figure out how to go in more than one way at the same time, we have to have goals, and we're going over here, and then we go follow them goals, till we get, okay. Multi-directional management is when you put your trust in Allah, and Allah send you, and it confuses everybody because they can't figure where you're going, what you told them, why you told them. And Allah, like I remember one saying that they asked the Prophet, one of the wise, who told you that? He said, one that knows everything, the one that told me. They was, messing around, trying to trick him and stuff. So he said the one that knows everything is the one that told me that, Okay, that means that Allah knows everything. And the Negroes know little or nothing, although they think they know. So Ridha means you're trusting in Allah. You know what I mean? Tafweed, you're turning everything over to Allah. So at this last back a while, when you turn everything over to Allah and you're reading into everybody what you're doing, and because it says that Musa was thrown in the water, then the sister father said, I tell you somebody to help him, make him want to drink milk, stuff. This is his mama. That was his sister telling them that, right? Then Allah says in that, he said, didn't I have you covered all the way back then? I've been down on your case since the time you was born. And now here you are in my service, according to the measure, according to my measure. That's kind of one of my favorite ayats of the part of that means that Allah had him covered all along. When Allah have you covered, you covered. Okay. And in that case, it turned Musa into his mission. Without his mama going through and all them changes, everything is fine. Okay. Now people, they look at that stuff and they think, that's just old time. A lot of people don't even believe it happened, stuff like that. It's old fairy tales. Might as well be a fairy tale, especially nowadays with all this super duper. Maybe 200-300 years ago, people would believe, these things. And now the Muslims, they're not doing bad. They really believe a lot of this. They hooked in. But now, to use it, you have to use it according to, you ask Allah to help you, to help what you're doing and where you're trying to go. You don't even choose where you want to go anymore. You leave that up to Allah. That, oh Allah, you got all this covered. Just send me where you want me to go. Because you know Allah going to send you, right? Now, that's turning over. Now, for some people, it's difficult because they're used to management and leadership, and they've been doing it all their life. They love if you go to their house, they got management this way, management that way. Every book in the library on